Microsoft says it has the answer to our absolutely chaotic digital work lives, and they're calling it Loop. The promise? A totally seamless, integrated workspace. But is this really the breakthrough that's going to end our app switching nightmare? Or is it just another tool promising the world and adding to the noise? Let's break it down.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You're in a Teams chat, then you're jumping over to Outlook for an email, then you got to go find that one file buried somewhere in SharePoint, and all the while, you're trying to remember to update a task list. It's just exhausting, and it absolutely kills your focus.
And look, this isn't just you feeling overwhelmed, it's a real, measurable problem. Studies have shown that people like us waste a massive amount of time just bouncing between apps. This constant context switching is the exact pain point that Microsoft is trying to fix with Loop.
So before we dive into the solution, let's just really sit with the problem for a second. Let's talk about the state of collaboration today, which for a lot of us is just, well, it's chaos.
So, what's Microsoft's big idea here? Well, it's not about creating yet another app you have to go to. Instead, they describe Loop as a collaborative fabric. The best way to think about it is like a smart layer that's woven directly into the tools you already live in, Teams, Outlook, and it's designed to finally bring all your work together. That sounds pretty cool in theory, but what does this collaborative fabric actually look like when you're using it? It really all comes down to a few core building blocks. Okay, so it's built on three main ideas. First, you've got workspaces. Think of those as the big folder for a project. Inside those, you have pages, which are these flexible canvases for all your notes and plans. But the real magic, the part that changes everything, is in the components.
The absolute best way to understand components is to think of them as Legos. A task list, a table, even just a paragraph. Each one is a live, self-contained block of content. You can copy it, paste it into a Teams chat or an email, and here's the kicker. No matter where it is, it always stays perfectly in sync.
And this is where that magic really starts to click into your daily workflow. So picture this. You create a little task list component right inside a Teams chat. Now, behind the scenes, that component is being safely stored in SharePoint. Any task you create in it instantly syncs up with Microsoft Planner. And if a task is assigned to you, boom, it automatically pops up in your personal to-do app. No more lost action items, ever. So what's the real-world payoff for all this seamless integration? It's a huge time saver. We're seeing that teams using this kind of embedded collaboration can slash the time they spend in those endless alignment meetings by up to 40%. I mean, just think about what your team could do with all that time back. But integration is really only half the story. The true superpower here, the secret sauce, is the AI layer that sits on top of everything, Microsoft's Copilot. Now, unlike a lot of other AI tools that are kind of stuck inside their own little world, Copilot in Loop has a massive advantage. It can tap into what Microsoft calls the graph, which basically means it can access and make sense of information from your emails, your Teams chats, your files, your entire digital work life. So what can it actually do for you? Well, it can take a long, messy page of meeting notes and summarize it into the key takeaways. It can brainstorm a list of potential risks for your next project. It can even draft a first version of your weekly status update. And my personal favorite, it can take your scattered brainstorming ideas and recast them into a perfectly structured table, complete with owners and due dates. It's awesome. But, and this is a really crucial piece of advice, while Copilot is incredibly powerful, it's not perfect. You have to treat what it gives you as a first draft. It's a fantastic starting point for sure, but it still needs your human brain, your expertise to review it, refine it, and make sure it's right before you go sharing it. Okay, this all sounds pretty amazing. I know. But what's the catch? There's always a catch, right? So let's get real for a minute and talk about Loop's limitations and, of course, what it's gonna cost. First off, it is super important to understand what Loop is not. It is not a replacement for a full-blown project management tool like Asana or even Microsoft Project. Loop is built for that fluid, in-the-moment collaboration. It just doesn't have the heavy-duty features like Gantt charts or complex resource management. But here's the biggest operational risk, in my opinion. Because it is so easy to create stuff in Loop, you can very quickly become a victim of what's called workspace sprawl, just a digital mess of disconnected pages and projects everywhere. If you don't have some clear rules and governance, you might just be trading one kind of chaos for another. So let's talk about the price tag. The good news is the core Loop functionality is probably already included in your company's Microsoft 365 subscription. That's great. But, and this is a big but, to unlock all those powerful AI Copilot features we were just talking about, that's an add-on. It requires an extra license that costs about $30 per user per month.
So with all that in mind, the power, the potential pitfalls, the cost, let's get to the final question. Who should actually be using this thing?
The verdict is actually pretty straightforward. You should definitely go for it if your team lives and breathes in the Microsoft ecosystem, if you need that enterprise-level security, and if your biggest headache is that constant context switching. But you should probably think twice if your company isn't a Microsoft shop, if you need a single tool to manage really complex projects, or if you need deep integrations with other platforms like Jira or Slack.
So when you boil it all down, it comes to this. Loop is offering this vision of a perfectly seamless AI-powered workspace, but in return, it asks for your full commitment to the Microsoft ecosystem and a pretty significant investment for the AI. So the question you really have to ask your team is that vision worth the price of admission?